Earth Dave is a well-known open flat earther who seems to have all of the math right on this topic. With the growing interest in flat earth and Z Media's commitment to exploring topics that most people won't touch, and YouTube's censorship of any serious flat earth arguments, well, you all know me. When something is highly censored, I can't help but investigate further. In this interview, we discuss common misconceptions within the growing flat earth movement, the deceptions given to us by NASA, the science behind flat earth, and much more. Dave joins us after this short word about one of our partners here at Z Media. Head to Survival Supplies Australia, a Z Media partner, today to prepare you and your household. They have the most comprehensive range in the country for all of your survival needs, including long life food, emergency 20-year life water, alternative power sources, and so much more. Head to the link in the description below to let them know you've come from Z Media. We're joined now by David Weiss, also known as Flat Earth Dave. He's been on a mission for many, many years to prove to the world that the Earth is flat. Now, let me just say openly that I am completely undecided here. What I do know is that I don't trust the globalists and I don't trust NASA. So today we're going to explore this topic. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Maria. I really appreciate speaking to people that have open minds and are brave enough to look at this very taboo topic. It's the fact that, when you can mention fairies and goblins and whatever you want. Everyone's like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And then you mention flat earth and they're like, get out of here because of the programming. So the fact that you're willing to address it, the truth does not fear investigation. And here we are. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely open to the conversation. I've seen some of your broadcasts before. I've seen you featured in documentaries about flat earth. I've definitely watched them. And as I said, the world could be a hexagon for all I know. All I know is that it's not what NASA's telling us. And so, that's my position. But before we get started, Dave, because I know that you've got so much material for people to consider, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you started investigating flat earth, because I know that you were actually staunchly against it at one point.
Well, every flat earther was staunchly against it. We're all brought up and indoctrinated into believing, this heliocentric Disney crazy, insane solar system. Here's the thing. People that believe in the globe, they have no idea what they believe in. We'll get into that, right? Because they think they know, but when you actually look at it, that's how you become a flat earther. So I was doing a conspiracy podcast. When I say conspiracies, I mean where people are conspiring to benefit themselves. That's called a conspiracy. And a lot of that goes on in this world. So I was doing this podcast about all these things and people started throwing flat earth at me. And I'm like, nope, not going to look at it, because I was programmed like flat earth, dumbest thing ever. Obama said, in 6 different speeches, we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society. We are not the Flat Earth Society. The Flat Earth Society is a government-run disinformation site that they'll lead you to so they can lead the opposition. And then you look at it and go, wow, flat earth is really dumb. Okay. Flat earth is not, no flat earther believes anything that's on that site. So that's how they do it. I was completely against it, wouldn't look at it. But then another researcher I trust very much, Sophia Smallstorm, she made me look. She's like, Dave, you got to look. And she sent me Mark Sargent's Clues, which Mark Sargent put out some, he came across flat earth. He's like, wait a minute. Let me just put some short videos together asking questions. He figured some astrophysicists would come back and go, look, this is an explanation. Silence, crickets, nothing. And so I watched that and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to just believe anything. And I started looking. And the thing that got me was ships over the horizon. Everyone goes, what about ships disappearing from the bottom up? But then with today's super zoom cameras and optics, we can zoom in and bring those ships right back into view when they supposedly went behind a physical curve, right?
Right.
If my mouth is behind this physical curve, zooming in isn't going to do anything. But on a flat earth, the horizon is optical. And so I went out and bought $1,000 worth of camera equipment, tripods, went down to the beach, zoomed in on a buoy that was 11 miles away, just over 10 miles. At 10 miles, according to the globe map, there should be 66 feet of curvature. 66 feet. How am I seeing this buoy? And I said, I know it. The curvature calculator is wrong. So I went to the debunking sites, the sites that are put out there to steer people away from flat earth. I was like, what are they saying the curvature should be? And they have this ridiculous calculator that says, oh, well, you're sharing the hump with, the drop with the viewer. So it's only half of that. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but I'll go with it. 33 feet. I don't know any buoys that are 33 feet tall. Okay. I'm still seeing this buoy. And not only can I see the buoy, I can see the surface of the water for miles and miles and miles beyond it. Okay. So no curvature, no axial rotation. No one's ever measured it. No one's ever seen it. People think they have because they're looking at fisheye lenses. So I went in to debunk flat Earth with a closed mind. I'm here to debunk flat Earth and prove the globe. That's not real. That's not the way you should investigate anything.
True.
I went in with that attitude. And that's how you become a flat earther. Only when you look, only when you take the time and look, that's how you become a flat earther. And I use that term. I've taken that weaponized term to heart. I'm Flat Earth Dave.
Well, I think that's very endearing. So you mentioned the horizon. There are so many airline pilots that will say, I've flown, thousands and thousands of miles. There's no way that the Earth is flat. I don't even know where to start, really, Dave. Do you want to start going through some of your arguments for, and then I can raise some of the arguments that I've heard against?
Yeah, people say, have you ever flown in an airplane? You can see curvature. You can't see curvature, right? And every time we prove that you can't see curvature at a certain elevation, they move the globe post, right? Instead of the goalpost, they move the globe post farther. We're like, we prove that you can't see it at out of an airplane. So then Neil deGrasse Tyson comes out and says, oh, you have to be in a jet fighter at 70,000 feet. So the Mythbusters, right? The disinformation guys I call the Mythbusters, they showed it at 70,000 feet. Oh, look at the curve. And they're filming through curved glass with a fisheye lens. But one of the cameras inside that was looking out the back did not have a fisheye lens. And it could see the horizon at camera level. Right, flat. And so then Neil deGrasse Tyson comes out and goes, well, you have to be at 100,000 feet, right? So we sent up a balloon to 120,000 feet, flat horizon, okay? And so then he moved the globe post again, and like, you can't see the curvature from that height, no matter how high we went, you can't see the curvature. And we're all trained to, program that, oh, the Earth is so big, we're just an amoeba on a basketball, and it looks flat, because we're so small. You don't understand how big the Earth is. Yeah, we do understand how big the Earth is. Flat earthers understand how big the Earth allegedly is, the sphere, because we know the curvature formula. And it's literally the Pythagorean theorem, okay? And when you look at it, at 3 miles, there should be 6 feet of curvature. At 10 miles, 66 feet of curvature. You know how much curvature there is at 700 miles?
I don't.
Okay, so here's a shot. Now, when you try to look across the land from ground level, close to ground level, the air is the thickest. You also have topographical, fluctuations in the land, and there's going to be something that's above your eye level. It's going to stop you from seeing any farther, and that's going to be your horizon, the whatever is above your eye level. All right, but from the top of a mountain where the air is clear, you can see much farther, and we can see all of these mountains. Okay, all of these mountains here, and there's seven mountains, and they're over 700 miles away. Now, calculating the observer height, because we use the globalist curve calculator, the tops of these mountains should all be over 40 miles below the curve, below the physical curve. But we can see them. You know what mainstream science says about this photo?
What?
Nothing. They won't address it. They won't address it. But this is something that anybody can go and do. Take a trip, go to a mountain and go to this mountain exactly, and go take the photo yourself. Okay. We have to believe, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, that's okay. Let me ask the question. Could this be explained through perception?
Perception or refraction, are you trying to say?
Just the angle that you're from, because I know that the further away you are, you explain this far better than I do, but things will appear at different levels, different sizes.
Right. As things go into the distance, they get smaller and smaller and smaller due to perspective.
Yes.
Now, the globe people will say, well, when something's over the curve, it refracts up. Things do get wobbly. When you look into the distance, they do refract. You can get mirages. You can get reflections. But when something is blocked, hidden behind something, it doesn't refract up into your vision and magically stop at eye level. Yeah. That's absolutely ridiculous. We do a thing called a mirror flash, right? Because sometimes we do laser beams, across frozen lakes and stuff. And the globalist argument is, the laser beam is shooting up over the curve and you're just seeing the beam,
Yes,
right?
I've heard
And now
that.
that's a horrible argument, but I'll give it to them. You know what? I'm not going to sit there and argue, but we do what's called a mirror flash, and anybody can do this, right? Get a large body of water or really flat land where there's nothing in your way, and late in the day or early in the day where the sun is behind the observer, you take a mirror and you flash the mirror at them, okay? Now you could do this, just do this in your yard. Get a mirror and flash someone in the face, and they're going to probably come over and, say, stop it. Okay. But then put something in between them, like put a car in between them or a fence, right? If there's a fence and they can't see the mirror, they're not going to see the mirror flash. No matter what you do, they're not going to see it. We're doing mirror flashes at distances where there should be 60, 70, 80 feet of curvature blocking the mirror flash, but we can see them, right? We can see them. People think that they're superhuman, that they're Superman, that their eyes can see forever. Well, how come I can't see across the ocean from New York to Europe? Well, because of air thickness, pollution, not just pollution, air, moisture, and just diminishing light. You can't see that far. And what the heck is in Europe that's big enough for you to see? I mean, Mount Everest gets really tiny, not that far away, 100 miles away. Mount Everest is really tiny. Okay. And it's all due to perspective. Everything gets wedged into the horizon.
So, okay, let's start with the heliocentric model. Let's start with that, because I've seen you explain that model just like the other side would do and just go straight to debunking. I'd like you to debunk the heliocentric model.
Okay, so the heliocentric system model makes a lot of claims. They make a lot of claims that we are first you go back to creation. Once upon a time, there was nothing. It exploded and became everything. That's a cool story. And then all of the rocks, they stuck together and they turned into perfect balls that started spinning. And then all of the gases somehow collided, came together and became so massive that they sucked in more gases and they left a void, a vacuum in between. You ever hear the term nature abhors a vacuum? Nature doesn't like vacuums. Air, gases will fill the available space. How do you have burning balls of gas in a space vacuum? It doesn't make any sense. How do you have air on we're a rock surrounded with water, surrounded with air, adjacent to no pressure, space, a vacuum, right?
Yes.
We have that NASA has a vacuum chamber here, and the walls are like 6 to 10 feet thick of concrete and steel, so it doesn't implode, right? But we have this space station out there, right, with it's just made out of aluminum. Astronauts go out there in their snowboarding suits. They don't explode like the Michelin Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I mean, they would just explode from the difference in pressure. Okay, so how do you have high pressure adjacent to a void without a container? It's never been shown that you can do that. Never. Okay, not in a lab, not in nature. But of course, the globe, it has to be. And they just say gravity. Gravity can hold down the air, but I could drink through a straw and suck water and air up and away from gravity with the weak, low pressure of my mouth and lungs. So people were not taught to think like this, and that's the problem. They just believe.
Well, this is what I was about to say. So you what you're doing is really unwiring the teaching from school, for example. Everything that we were taught in these institutions, which are indoctrination centers, were essentially to get us prepared for globalism. And it's funny I use that word. When I say globalism, I mean the globe Earth too, I guess. So, okay, so the theory of how the Earth is spinning. Talk to us about, and I'm calling it a theory on purpose, talk to us about how they present that versus what you actually believe.
So every test done by scientists throughout all of recorded history to prove axial rotation, because we're spinning on our axis, has proven the opposite, that we're not spinning. Every test to measure curvature has proven that there is no curvature. Okay. So we're supposedly in a system like this. Okay. The Earth is spinning. This is the slowest motion, the spin of the Earth. Now, yes, it only goes around once per day, but if you're on the equator, you're moving 1,000 miles an hour. You are dropping, if you're on the equator, you're dropping at like a mile a minute, okay? Maybe even a little faster, okay? And that's incredible. Imagine being on a merry-go-round going 1,000 miles an hour. You can't even fathom what that would be like, right? So we're spinning, we're orbiting around the sun in an elliptical path, an elliptical orbit, right? And if you take the distance of our orbit and everything, we're going at 66,616 miles an hour, 666. A lot of that shows up in the heliocentric system. Okay, it's weird. It's actually crazy how many times 666 shows up. Wow. Okay, so we're spinning and going around, and then we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour in another curved trajectory. Now, the argument that people say is, well, I can fly in an airplane and I can drink a glass of water and I can take a walk to the bathroom and there's no problem at all. I don't even know that I'm moving. Well, yes, one, you do know that you're moving. But if you want to compare an airplane to the slowest motion of the Earth, which is the spin, you have to double the speed of the airplane, go from 500 to 1,000 miles an hour. You have to remove the outer shell of the airplane because there's no outer shell over the globe Earth. And you have to nosedive down as fast as a free-falling skydiver just to follow the curve, okay? Then let me know how your water's doing and your trip to the bathroom, okay? It's not going to be going so well.
So what is that compared to what you actually believe the Earth is?
So that's a great question. The Earth is measurably, testably, observably, provably a level, horizontal plane. Okay, we have hills and valleys. It's a topographical plane, right? Just let me just finish right here with just one thing, just so people can get an idea of what this is, of what these speeds are. This is the hypersonic sled track. Just look it up on YouTube so you can hear it. It goes by. It's shocking. It's hard to fathom what this speed is, but you have to believe that we are going 10 times faster than that around the sun and 100 times faster than that chasing the sun. So you got this big globe Earth with oceans and cruise ships and people and everything. It's going 10 times faster in a curved orbit and spiraling, chasing the sun at 100 times faster. Your brain short circuits, you're unable to process this information. But when we go out and say, because it's nonsense, but when we go out and use our God-given common sense and we look at something like this, what is this? This is water that's contained. Large bodies of water at rest need containment. It's the land that goes all the way around that's higher than the water. It's containing it, okay? So people say, well, what about, why doesn't the water fall off the flat Earth, right? Because that's the biggest meme. That's the biggest meme out there. And the answer is because we're not a disk floating in space. They want you to believe that, if you look up flat Earth, you're going to come up with a disk, kind of like this, right? And this is John Avalon on CNN, making fun of flat Earth, right? It's like a turn up with dirt on the bottom. This is not flat Earth, okay? This is a model showing the surface of what it could look like and the shoreline of Antarctica, but then it's just like the white ring is the end of the map. It's not showing you what it truly is. So I say that we live in what I call the Antarctic basin, right? What is that? So all of the oceans of the world are like a pond, right? A pond needs containment. The surface of a pond is flat. The surface of a lake is flat. The surface of the oceans at rest lie flat, right? And so it needs containment. Well, here's the containment. Here's the shoreline of our world, okay? That's the shoreline of our world, right? So that contains the water. That's called Antarctica. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. They don't teach you that in school, okay? Makes sense. The shoreline of our world to stop the water from spilling over is Antarctica. Some people call it the ice wall, okay?
I was just about to say the ice wall. I mean, you're not allowed in this place. You are going to be shot on sight if you go past a certain point. So there's clearly something that's being hidden there.
So the globalists out there will argue anybody can go there. There's 100 different companies that'll take you to this little tiny island at the tip of this peninsula, which is called Rothschild Island or Deception Island. It's next to Rothschild Island. Okay. This little tiny peninsula is bigger than some countries. It's not, don't be fooled. This is almost 70,000 miles around, we believe. 70,000 miles. Okay. The equator is only 25,000 miles around on the globe. This pink line represents 60 degrees south. No one is allowed to go beyond there. Okay. And then the globalists, anti-flat earthers will go out there. What is everybody linking elbows, all the way around, guarding, saying, don't come in. No, there's 8 different islands. There's 8 islands. Let me just show you.
Okay.
There's 8 different islands that are all owned. They have military bases. They're all owned, run by the Crown and the United Nations. And these islands they protect. No one's allowed to go by. There's military bases. Remember the Falkland Islands War? Okay, what that's weird. Off of South America, the little island. Why are they fighting over it? It's because this is where they have these bases. And then there's a network of buoys, radar, mesh buoys that go all the way around. No one is allowed to go there. If you try, you will be turned around. Now, you can go to Antarctica. We have flat earthers that have worked in Antarctica. We had a guy that was a plumber there at one of the bases for over a year. Okay, before he was a flat earther, right? That's fine. They're just working along the shoreline, right? They're working along the shoreline of Antarctica. So if you go from Santiago right here, and right here, you can have a base over here. You can have a base over here. I know that there's this base, and I know there's another one off of, I think, somewhere off of Australia, but I don't know of any others. Okay. And then the question is, what's out here? We don't know. We don't know what's out there, but that's,
yeah.
We're not allowed to know. So I like to say, what if the world is set up like this? Here we are. This ring is Antarctica. Now, again, to prove the Earth is flat, we don't need to speculate what's above or higher than we can get or what's beyond the shoreline of Antarctica. But there's many stories from the 1800s and before of more land beyond there. Now, if we do live in this, this realm, this level horizontal realm, and there was more land out here, Maria, what would you call somebody that lived on extra territory, extra terra?
Yes, I'll tell you why this particular model doesn't make sense to me, Dave. I'll let you know. Okay. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. Okay. So yeah. When I look at what the word says, and it says God made two, paraphrasing, two lights to govern the sky, one for day, one for night, right? So I think, okay, if the Earth, I don't know that there's anything beyond the ice wall because there isn't more than one sun. That's where my thinking goes.
Well, there could be, you know what? I can go either way. I'm literally 50-50, right? You can also interpret the Bible. It says, the four corners of the earth. What if the earth was just talking about a bigger expanse with multiple ponds? And they're only talking about, the sun that's in our area. Let's go with you because neither of us know, and you want to go on scripture. I'm with you. Let's go on scripture. But here's how they hide it. Okay. Here's how. Let me lost it for a second. So here's how they would hide the thing is if you want to put somebody in a prison, they're never going to be happy. But if they don't know they're in a prison, that's how you get away with it. So how do you hide the rest of the world? Here it is. You just take it and you wrap the earth around a sphere, and all of this land, let's say the dome was outside of that. Let's say the dome terminates. And there's a lot of evidence for that. Then they say, this is Antarctica. Okay. Right. So we took that picture, this, right? And we cut it out right here. Let's say the dome, there's a dome, a biblical dome. It goes around out here. Cut this off, right? And then wrap it around a sphere. Here we go. So we take it and we just wrap it around a sphere. And then we say, you can't explore out here. You can't explore this white frozen wasteland, right?
Yes, that's
this is off limits. Yeah, this is off limits. You're not allowed to go here. Well, that's exactly what's going on. And so what's beyond there? I'd say, Maria, you and I both want to know. We want to see if you're right, if we're interpreting the Bible correctly, or maybe there's more lands. We want the right to explore as free human beings. Well, right? It doesn't matter to me if there's more land or not right now. It matters that we are being lied to about where we live, who we are, right? And the truth, that we are at the center of creation. That's the amazing part. They want us to believe that we're an insignificant speck flying through a random Big Bang universe with, at best, a distant, diluted God, right? The bigger you make the universe, the more diluted your mind is going to think about God. But if we're here at the center of creation.
Yes, I agree with you on that. You mentioned the fact that some of the arguments against flat Earth are that the water would just spill over the sides based on, the disc. I don't find that any I mean, the pictures that you've shown and the Arctic wall, if you will, around the Earth, under the model that you're suggesting it is, I find that more believable than a globe spinning at these insane speeds and the water not falling over the edges of that. What is that based on? What, gravity is holding all this water together?
So think about this, and I always want to bring. I like a frying pan is the best example. So you got an iron frying pan. It weighs like 5 pounds, right? And so I got my hand here, and I want to push the frying pan. I got the frying pan in my hand. I want to push it up against this hand. Now, if I put 1 pound of upward pressure on there, can I get it to my hand? No, because the frying pan is 5 pounds. But if I put 5 pounds of pressure, I can hold that frying pan to the bottom of my hand, right? So I need 5 pounds of pressure to hold it there. If I had a 10-pound frying pan, I would need 10 pounds of pressure to hold it there. Right? Makes sense. It's logical. You with me?
Yes.
All right. On a globe, we have hundreds of trillions of tons of water on the bottom of a ball spinning adjacent to a scientifically impossible space vacuum. How much pounds of pressure would you need to hold trillions of tons of water to a ball?
Trillions of tons.
Trillions of tons of pressure. Okay. But somehow butterflies can fly. I can hold my arms up. I can jump. A summer breeze can blow the air left, right, up, and down, but gravity is holding it from the all-powerful space vacuum. Here's the problem: when you explain these sizes and distances and speeds and everything to people, their brain goes, it's too much. I can't process that information. I must divert my common sense to the guy in the white lab coat with the bow tie who was a failed comedian. Okay. You give away your God-given common sense for complete and total nonsense, right? And then he's like, you know what? This guy Dave's making a little sense. Let me go Google, right? You Google, they're going to feed you garbage. You get nothing, right? It's like if you are relying on Google to learn about flat Earth, you're going to just be like, you're just going to give up. Your brain's going to get tired, or you're going to go, well, I couldn't find anything on flat Earth. Everything I saw is completely ridiculous. And that's the case. That's why I made this app. It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. You have it, Maria?
Yes, I bought it. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a great resource. I mean, I haven't finished exploring it fully. I just note that, a lot of your resources are on there. You click a button, it comes up with educational videos. There's FAQs, really, really good stuff. And I will say, Dave, that the one thing that made me want to explore this topic further was how difficult it is to find information about it. So when you Google, right. Google's a perfect example. You Google COVID-19 vaccine deaths, and all you find is these fact-checking articles about how no one's dying from the COVID shot when we know that they are. So there's, sorry if I can finish, the same thing happens with flat Earth. You Google flat Earth and you just find article after article of fact checkers and debunking. Well, hang on a minute now. Why are we putting so much effort into these search results to debunk this? Why isn't it an open conversation? That's what made me the most curious.
With all of the craziness going on in the world and, all the countries fighting for, fighting for resources and just, wars and all this stuff. All of the countries in the world agree on two things. Everybody must get the experimental, cocktail injected, and nobody can go to Antarctica or the North Pole.
Yeah.
Okay. How do they all agree on those two things? Kind of sounds like they're working together, doesn't it? Maybe.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, okay. Let me ask you about. Oh no, go on. Go on.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, like, every question you're going to ask me is on here. It's in the frequently asked questions. And you click one of these, it brings up all the videos that YouTube isn't going to feed you. Okay. And this is the challenge I give people. I say, if you think flat Earth is stupid, just get the app. Every day there's a new featured video right here. Just watch it while you're having your breakfast every day for 2 weeks. I guarantee you after 2 weeks, you will be an anti-glober at the least. I'll say anti-glober because people are like, I don't want to be a flat earther. Nobody wants to be a flat earther. Actually, now it's actually flipping. Flat Earth is going to take over. And if you're not a flat earther, you're not in the cool gang.
Well, let me ask you about flight paths, because I know some people who are very interested in piloting. One person very close to me, and they say based on flight paths, flat Earth's not possible. Whereas you say based on flight paths, it actually proves flat Earth. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, 100% there. So if you think about flight
Actually,
paths,
Dave, if we can pause here, can we talk about where north is on the flat Earth model first? That may make more sense.
absolutely. So if we go to the images section right here and pull up the flat Earth map, we'll go with this one, right? This is the Gleason's map. And the north is at the center, right? So here's the United States, South America, Africa, right? You got your orientation. The north is a magnetic center, okay? And so people say, well, what about circumnavigation, right? Circumnavigation proves that the Earth is a sphere, and absolutely it does not, okay? So here's how it works. I got a magnet at the center right here. So I got a compass, and the needle is pointing towards the center, okay? Compasses only work on a flat level surface, okay? And as I try to push this west, because west is right here, I have to keep turning because that needle always needs to point towards the center. So I just went all the way around heading 270 degrees west. Now, if I try to go east, same thing. The needle will always point towards the center. East is a circle. West is a circle. Circumnavigation, east and west, billions and billions of people have done it, okay? Billions and billions of people have done it. What you can't do on a flat Earth is head. You can't head south and come back north, but on a ball you can. You just go under and come right back up, and you could circumnavigate. But right here, I'm going to try to go west, and I'm going to follow a straight line. I'm not going to correct to the north. And as soon as I start moving, so there's west. That stick is pointing west from where I am right now. And as I go, watch the needle just turn. I'm heading south. Right, south is every direction away from north. So go, you can do this yourself. Get a magnet, that's north. Every direction away is south. So south is every one of these radial lines. Every line is heading south. Now, if I try to head south on a flat Earth, I'm not going to end up over here. I'm just going to disappear. On a ball, you can go south and come back up. But guess what? Nobody has ever done it. Every time they try to do it, they end up going south, and then they turn around and they come back. Okay?
So you're saying now no one has ever managed to travel south around, circumvent the Earth? Not even explorers?
No, nobody has ever done it. The most recent one was a guy. It was called Spider Tracks, and we're like, this guy's going to do it. We could track him live. And he basically went from the North Pole, went out to Alaska, California, I believe Hawaii, these islands here, up over here, then down to South America. Then he went to the alleged South Pole. Then they said, oh, the weather's too bad. We have to turn around. And they came back up through Brazil, and they came up here and back up to the North Pole. And we're like, well, they didn't do it. Guinness Book gave them the world record for southern circumnavigation. Okay. All they did on a flat Earth is they went here, and they turned around and they came back. Right? They went here, turned around and came back. That's all they did. Okay. And they just had another one recently that happened.
Even on a globe Earth, they didn't circumvent south.
They didn't circumnavigate, right? They had another one that they had another one. I think it went from like South Africa. It went down, and now if we're looking at this on a globe, it went down and it just went like this and went over here, and then it went back up. Right? They didn't cut across that way. Right. And so on a flat Earth, right, they went from South America, they just skirted over here, and then they came over here. That's it. That's all they did. Right. Nobody goes from Santiago and pops up in New Zealand or Australia. No one's ever done it. No one's ever done it.
Well,
okay?
talk to us then about flight paths.
Right. So flight paths are the death blow to the ball. Okay. So you got your equator over the middle, okay? And every airport above the equator is a northern airport, and every airport below the equator is a southern airport, right? Very simple. I'm just explaining, globe reality, okay? So if you put all of the airports that are in the north in a hat, and you picked out two of them randomly, any combination of any two, a flight from one to the other will never, ever cross the equator, right? There's no reason to cross the equator because you're going from a northern location, right? Going from a northern location to another northern location. It doesn't matter. You would never go below the equator because that would be a longer flight. And guess what? No flight routes do that. No flight routes in the north from a north airport to a northern destination ever cross below the equator. So the same should be true on a ball because there has to be symmetry. You should never have to go, excuse me, from a southern location into the north, but many, many, many times, excuse me, many, many times that happens. Here's a women's soccer team that was going from Brazil to Sydney, and they stop in Tahiti. Okay, right. So on a globe, they went all the way up here and then all the way down here. Like, why didn't they just cut across right by Antarctica? And there's Easter Island out here they could stop at if there's an emergency, right? Why didn't they go across? Now, here's what the trip looked like on a flat Earth. Now, someone that's actually thinking, they'd be like, well, why didn't they stop in America or Canada and continue? Because that's a real straight line on the flat Earth map. And the answer is because America and Canada require them to have U.S. or Canadian passports for every single team member, and they don't all have them. So that's why they go out here, which isn't that much farther. But let's look at a couple other ones, and we'll see. We'll see some good stuff. This is good. So here we go. Let's start with this.
So can you just show the viewers, Dave, the thick yellow line there is the equator on the flat Earth model, right?
Correct. And this one, it's a yellow line. Yeah, the yellow orangey line.
And the reason why the equator is in that spot is?
It's halfway. So the equator is halfway in between the center and the outer part. So let me show people how that works.
Sure.
So
I don't mean to interrupt your flight path presentation, but I think it's
important.
That's
okay. That's all right. People say that I'm very I'm scatterbrained sometimes. It's because we're talking about so many different things. There's so many different ways to go.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to slow it down. I'm always rushed for time, so I speak really fast and I try to get the points out. And I do my best. Okay. So
we appreciate it.
Excuse me. Here is I'm gonna make this a little bigger so people can see it. Oops. How come that's not working? App full screen. There we go. All right. So you have the inner yellow line that's near the sun right now. The sun is almost over that inner yellow line, and that's the Tropic of Cancer. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And then the outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. Right. We've all heard that. And then there's a very thin orange line a red line halfway in between them. And that's the equator. Okay.
Right.
Now the sun travels 6 months in to June 21st, where it's over the Tropic of Cancer. Well, we're past June 21st. It's already moving its way out. I'm going to jump forward July, August, September, October, November, and December. So in December, it's out over the Tropic of Capricorn, and Australia has their summer in December. That's the height of their summer. You know why? Because the sun is directly above them. Okay? They're having their summer, but me here in Connecticut, I'm having my winter because guess what? The sun is far away from me. The sun is far away. When something's far away, it's lower in the sky. So I'm here in Connecticut. The sun's all the way out here. Okay? It's all the way out here. So it's lower in the sky. I have shorter days. All right. And then 6 months later, the sun will come back in. There I am, May, June. So in June, it's in and it's higher and it's warmer. And that's how seasons work. That's how the sun works. And that's how it goes around. It just circles around. You look like you have a question.
Because I was just about to ask you about seasons. So my understanding previous to what you just showed was that the sun kind of doesn't move. It's always going in the same circle in the flat Earth model. But you're saying it does. And that's why we have seasons.
They want us to believe that we're orbiting the sun in this direction, but the moon goes around us in another direction, and the stars are spinning, right? And that because we're spinning, the stars are moving. But if you watch, the sun, moon, and stars all rise in the east, set in the west. Period. Okay, they all rise in the east. The sun goes around. Let me speed this up. The sun goes around once every 24 hours. So the sun keeps track of the hours and the days. The sky is a perfect clock. All of the finest watches on the world, the finest timepieces in the world, they're all based on the sky clock. That's what time is. So the sky is the perfect clock, all right? Not a random Big Bang, a God-created amazing timepiece. The sun will lap the moon once every 28, 29 and a quarter days. Okay. So the moon, its phase and its position keeps track of the weeks and the months. There used to be 13 months of 28 days. That's 364. And then 1 day of reset.
Right.
Okay. God's day. I'm not sure. Right. And so that keeps track of the weeks and the months. And then if you slow it down and I'll put on the stars are spinning also, but they're going slightly faster than the sun. That the stars will lap the sun once every 365 days, right? So the sun will drift back for about a month in each zodiac, right? So the stars keep track of the seasons and the years. Right. So remember the spiraling crazy system? That's just our solar system. We're in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars, 100 billion stars and planets and everything supposedly. And they're all spinning in their own directions and the whole galaxy is spinning. But somehow, if you go out tonight and take a picture of the stars at 10 p.m. or midnight or whenever, and put a note in your calendar to do the same thing, same day, next year, same time, every single star will be in the exact same place.
I want to get back to flight
Crazy.
paths. The interesting thing about stars, and I've thought about this, and again, approaching this with a completely open mind, Dave, because I think it's important to. I think it's important to consider things that just don't make sense. If we're talking about stars that are billions of light years away and we can see their light, and yet I've seen you show, for example, the view of the moon, or was it the sun, from other planets. It simply doesn't make sense.
If you actually think about it, the problem is people have a hard time understanding the sizes and distances and brightnesses. Let's talk about flight paths, then we'll talk about star brightness.
Let's do that.
Cool?
Sure.
Okay. So here's a shot from Auckland. It goes all the way up to Los Angeles and then down to Lima, Peru. Now, everybody in Auckland, they don't want to go to Los Angeles. They want to go to Lima, Peru, but they go all the way up there. They cross the equator. Here's the equator right here, this little black line there, right? But when we look at that trip on a flat Earth, look at that. It's a straight line, right? Now, the globalists, the anti-flat earthers, they'll be like, well, that's where their hub is, and they got to change pilots. They got to pick up other passengers. Nonsense. And I can prove that it's nonsense. Right? I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it right now, actually.
Okay.
So let me go. Let me go over here.
I love Dave's energy. I love his enthusiasm. He's just so passionate on this topic. It's really, really awesome. Thank you, Dave. Go on.
No problem. No problem. So I could show you. I could show you a flight path after flight path after flight path that make no sense. Right? Goes all the way up here, all the way down. But it's a straight line here, right? This one, why don't they just cut across from here to here instead of going all the way to Dubai and Cape Town, right? It's straight. This is the shorter route, right? You got all of these trips that happen to be straight lines on the flat Earth, right? This one, I think is one I just showed you. Oh, it's close to it. But it's a straight line on a flat Earth. Interesting, okay? But, you can argue, well, these are the flight paths. They have to go there, whatever. But there's a thing called emergency landings, okay? And that's when somebody dies suddenly, and it's been happening a lot, okay? Someone just dies suddenly on an airplane, and then the plane will divert to another location. Not what I was looking for. My emergency landings. Here we go. So here's one. New York City to Hawaii, emergency landing in Seattle. Now, it doesn't look that far here, but this is over 1,000 miles off the flight path. Okay, why did they land there? And the answer is because Seattle is directly on their flight path. Emergency happened, baby, or heart attack, who knows? And they landed in 15 minutes. How did they get 1,000 miles in 15 minutes? Okay, here's another one. Whoops, here we go. Here's another one. This one, they diverted to Moscow. Okay, Moscow, right on their flight path. Here's another one. Another one diverted to Moscow, like almost 2,000 miles out of the way. And they got there in 15 minutes. How'd that happen? Okay. Here's another one. They went all the way up to Calgary, right? Calgary's right on the flat Earth map, right on the line, right? Two more, and then we'll move along. So here's one from New York to Auckland, New Zealand. Right about here, there was an emergency, and they diverted to Fiji. Why didn't they just finish the flight? Why'd they go all the way over here? And the answer is because Fiji is, as you guessed it, directly on that flight path. Here's a zoomed in. Coming from New York, Fiji's right over here. It's not over here. It's over here, right on their flight path. Why is it that every time there's an emergency, the airport that they choose to land at is right on a straight line on the flat Earth map? Could it be that the Earth is flat and they're lying to us?
Okay. It certainly could
and then
be.
I showed this one on Stu, but this is worth, because this one is traumatizing. From Hong Kong, they were going to the UK. They ended up stopping in Germany. It's a 12-hour flight. 4 hours into the flight, a family traveling together, mother, little kids, father, husband. She dies suddenly in her bed, in her seat. I don't want to speculate on why, right? She died. This happened just this last year, or maybe it was even this year. It was recently. And they flew for 8 more hours with the dead mom next to the children and husband. Okay? 8 hours. They could have landed at dozens and dozens and dozens of airports. Okay? But they didn't land. They didn't land at all. Now, why could that be? Why is that? There's 2 reasons. Because this is what it looks like on a flat Earth map. 4 hours into the flight, they're flying over Russia.
Wow.
What would happen if they landed in Russia and Russia's like, please let us help? And they showed compassion and help and cooperation. That could spark peace, right?
Yeah, God
Can't have
forbid.
that in today's environment, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, somebody like me might go, hey, look, they're flying over Russia. It works on a flat Earth. It doesn't work on the other, okay? The cat's out of the bag. People are waking up. It's these automatons, NPCs, I call them, that are out there defending their prison. They're in a prison for their mind, and they're defending it. People are like, well, everybody would have to be in on it. Nope. You mentioned pilots before. I kept meaning to get to that. On the app, there's a whole section on pilots, pilot whistleblowers. We have tons of pilots that are coming out, but the pilots that want to keep their jobs, they can't say anything. The Qantas pilots, the ones that are the Australian airline, they all know the Earth is flat. They've told us, right? Wow. But they can't say anything. They talk about it amongst themselves in the lounge, but they can't talk about it publicly. But more and more and more are coming out. People on planes are going out. They're stopping to the pilots, and they're like filming it secretly, and they're asking them, and the pilot's like, "Yeah, it's flat. There's no curvature. We don't know."
I've seen footage of that. I've definitely seen footage of that. Okay. Yeah,
there's.
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
Certainly very compelling, Dave. Very compelling.
Yeah.
What about the stars? Like I asked you about that that photo before. If you've got it, if you know the one that I'm talking about, where you've got a photo from the moon of the different planets. I think it's from the moon, and the way that they're viewing the sun, or is it a photo from the planets viewing the sun? Like it's a simulation. It's not actually a photograph. Probably CGI.
On a recent, I showed it on a recent interview. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. It was, yes. You had all the planets.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find it. It was, what was it under? It was showing the brightness of have you the brightness of that planets would see the sun, how big they would see the sun.
Yes,
right?
That's what I'm talking about.
So,
and the reason why that photo is interesting to me is because, again, we're being told the stars are billions of light years away, and yet they're just as bright as the sun would be, for example, or more bright from, I don't know, Neptune.
Right. I don't want to look for the photo right now.
That's okay.
But so if you look at the size of the sun from the Earth is like a coin held at arm's length, right? That's how big we see the sun. But from Jupiter, the sun is much, much farther away, and it's tiny. It's not as small as a star, but it's pretty small. So for us, and now if you look up at Jupiter's in the night sky. I think it's still up in the night sky. You'll be able to see it. And the way you can tell it is it's the brightest thing in the sky other than the moon at nighttime. It is as bright as the sun. It's just smaller. Okay. So you have to believe, like if you were on Jupiter, that little distant tiny sun is bright enough to light up the non-reflective surface of Jupiter and then reflect millions and millions of miles, 800 million miles, I think it is, or something like that, all the way back to Earth, and you can see it as bright as the sun. That, if you believe that, you're not thinking, because light, as it goes away, spreads out and gets dimmer and dimmer exponentially fast. It's called the inverse square law of light, right? Light is supposedly photons, right? So if you're right next to a bright light, and let's just say it's a solid wall of photons hitting you, you move that light away, all those photons are going to be spread out. You move it farther away, they're spread out even more. You move it a mile away, those photons are going to be like a couple feet apart, okay? You move it a million miles away, you're not going to be able to see anything because the photons aren't even going to get to you. Maybe one would luckily hit you, if you won the lottery.
Well, I want to ask you about light as far as the sun goes. So if the sun is sort of circling above the Earth, as you say,
Yep.
why wouldn't someone on the east coast of Australia see it at the same time as the west coast? Is it that close? Is it that much closer to us than we think?
I think it is. I think the sun is very close. Everything that we see is very close.
Right.
And the sun's light, we're taught that light travels forever and ever and ever. Okay. And that's just not true when you actually think about it and look at it. So it's just a little example. This is a wall. I turned it sideways. Oops. And it's showing you the light on a wall only lights up this area. It's dark over here. Right, go in a big dark room like a gymnasium and hold the light, 2 feet above the floor, or a candle. Right, but on the other end of the room is dark, right? But if you're at the other end of the room, you can see the sun. You can see the candle across the room, but you're not taking into account the atmosphere density. The atmosphere becomes opaque. Okay, the atmosphere becomes opaque in a very short distance, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Okay, so here is, where is it? Sun. Where is my? Oh, there it is. Okay. So here is, well, first, you know what? I'm going to show you two things, right? And you might have seen this one. This is called my flat earth kitchen. Have you seen this?
No.
So here we have a view. This line represents the path of the sun. So here I am walking with the sun across this line. Now I'm viewing this from the height of the sun, a celestial point of view, right? Now this is mountains or clouds or whatever, but we're above it. It's opaque and the sun never goes below it. Now I have a terrestrial camera on the counter on the other end where I started, and we're going to look at what that saw. So I'm going to repeat. Here we are from the other end. Now, if I showed you this first, I'd say, Maria, is this line level? And you'd be like, no, it's sloping down. And I was like, is this ball of light going below this eye level horizon, which isn't eye level? And you'd be like, yeah, of course it is. And when I zoom in on it even more, look how steep this is. This is a level line, and this is not going below it. But this line, which is high up, is compressed into eye level. And when we compare this to an actual sunset, the sun went down, 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 down. It's going behind, what's this? That's not the Earth. That's called the atmospheric deck of opacity. Okay? It's going below this. Now, this looks like it's at your eye level, but it's not. It's 10,000 feet in the air, right? 5 or 10,000 feet in the air. So here's a view.
Dave, not every sunset I've seen looks like that. There isn't always this gap, this atmospheric level of opacity that you're talking about.
Absolutely true. That because I'm zoomed in, if I zoomed out, that entire thing would merge into one line, and you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even see it. But there's a million types of sunsets. Okay, so here's one from.
And why would that be?
Where is it? Because of the different conditions. A sunset over water versus a sunset over dry land. Like here is a sunset on a high plateau in Afghanistan, and the sun literally stopped going down. It just sat here, and it's kind of just going away. This is super sped up, right? The fool on the hill sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head see the world spinning round, right? The sun is just clearly traveling away and taking its light with it. Okay. It's traveling away. So here's one where the sun was up high in the sky, and I got this is on it was super cold. It was below freezing, super clear day, right? And the sun was up here and it was going down, down, down. Now, if we were spinning, it would just keep on going, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and it stopped and it sat here. Now, this is sped up super fast. Okay. It just sat here for 10 minutes. I'm filming it. The sun's not going down anymore. It stopped. And then it just faded away.
So why is that?
I'll repeat it over here. Why is that? Because the atmospheric density, if you go in a big Olympic swimming pool and you have somebody's at the other end of the pool and you go underwater, you can't see them because the water just becomes opaque. Air is the same thing, right? Even on the clearest of day, the atmosphere will not allow the light to travel that far. I'll show you another example which will help bring it home. Okay.
Sure.
So this is a where is it? Here we go. All right. So this is a spot in Aluja, France, where we're looking out over the water. And out here is Mount Canigou, but it's 175 miles away. And from this viewing spot, the top of Mount Canigou should be over a half a mile below the curve. So we can't see it. Guess what? We can't see it. Right. But you don't see me right now. You see the light that's bouncing off of me. And I could prove it. If I turned all the lights off in this room, you wouldn't see me. Right. This sun is the brightest thing in the sky. The lights that I have on me are brighter than the lights that's bouncing off of me. Okay. You can agree with that, right?
Yes.
Right. The light that you're looking at right now is brighter than the light I see on your face. Okay. So twice a year, as the sun's migrating in between the two tropics, it stops. It migrates right in line with Mount Canigou. Mount Canigou is right in line with that viewing spot on the sun. And as the sun goes away, it backlights Mount Canigou. And here it is. The sun's light is powerful enough to push 175 miles through the air, but the light that bounces off of Mount Canigou is not. So it bounced. So right here, here's Mount Canigou, all of it. It's all here. It's not a mirage. And the only global argument they have is, well, the sun is set already and the mountain is below the curve, but it's refracting up and magically stopping at eye level. Perfect for you to trick you to believe you live on a ball. Okay. That's their excuse. So right here, this alone proves that the earth is flat right here. The picture I showed you at the beginning, 700 miles away, not 175, 700 miles away. But this is, not as high as that one. When you do the math, here's the problem. People don't like doing the math. Okay. People don't like actually thinking about what they're told. The closest star to us is 25 trillion miles away. That's the closest one, not the sun. The closest star in the heliocentric system, 25 trillion miles away. If we were traveling at 100,000 miles an hour, let's look at that the rocket sled, Mach 8.6, whatever it was. Okay, if we were in a rocket ship going that fast, which would be insane, it would take us 450,000 years to get to the closest star.
Wow.
450,000 years. We're going 100,000 miles an hour. It would take 100,000 miles an hour. It would take, I forget how long, but it's crazy long. It's crazy.
When I think about these types of estimates that they give us, Dave, and I think about, for example, when they talk about carbon dating and the Earth is billions of years old and all of this other nonsense, which I don't believe.
Right.
Carbon dating, as far as I'm aware, really can give you accurate numbers to about 4,000 years, and past that, it's a guess.
I think less.
Or less. Yeah, let's say, to be generous, but really, the rest is a guess. So I'm guessing that the same thing applies here, right?
They give you numbers so big that you're unable to process them, and when you're unable, it's like I can't figure that out. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it doesn't make any sense. But you defer the guys in the White Lab because they must know.
Yes.
Right? The Rockefellers, they wrote a textbook for us. Okay, and they sold the textbooks to the schools below cost, so nobody else could ever make a textbook to compete with them. Okay. Right? You have to follow the curriculum. You have to believe the nonsense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just the deception is so big, people don't want to see it. Like, you know, people are like, well, you know, if the earth is flat, you know, what's the exact model? Give me everything. Well, we don't know everything. We
But
just
neither
know
do
that it's not a
they.
globe.
But neither do they.
Well,
That's the thing. They
don't know
present something to
anything.
you as fact. It's like the evolutionists, right? And I have evolutionists in my audience, and I love them very much, but they're misinformed. You know, you're placing your blind faith in something that's never been proven. We've never had evidence of a change of kinds. It's never been observed. It is blind faith in a theory, the same way that you would accuse religious people of having. So really, you know, because someone wrote it in a book. Well, what did your so-called scientists write in a book? Like, this is just theory. You know what I mean? Adaptation, what Darwin observed, adaptation is not proof of a change of kinds. Adaptation is adaptation, which, you know, human beings have the capacity to adapt to their environment. So that's not a proof of a change in kinds. No one's ever seen a dog go to a cat. We have missing gaps all throughout the fossil records. So you're placing your blind faith in, as you said, the guy in the lab coat that just seems to know better than us. And that's just really, it's no more or less naive. I mean, it's more naive actually, than
Let me show you a trick
religion.
that they do.
Let
me show you a trick they do. It's called, they give us false binaries. Okay.
Okay.
A false binary. So it's like, you know, Republican or Democrat, which one do you want?
Yeah.
Same monster, two different, same monster. Okay. So here's I'm going to show you 3 photos. Okay. And one of them is fake. One of them is a painting. Ready?
I'm going to say I've seen you do this before, so I'm not going to respond.
I've only done it once before. Are you watching all my stuff? This is only the second time I've done it. Okay.
Yeah. Go on.
So you have these 3 images. I'll show you. Here they are. And one of them is fake. So do you know which one it is, or you know the answer?
I'm gonna let the audience decide because I know the answer.
All right. Okay. So the answer is they're all fake. Okay. But if you said, well, this one is fake, then that means the other 2 are real. Okay. Yeah. Okay. They're all fake. Right. And NASA does the same thing to us. Right. NASA does the same thing. These are all images from NASA. So how do I word this? One of these is fake, or 2 of them are fake, or one of them is real. Which one is it? NASA gave us all of these. This is the blue marble. It was on everyone's iPhone. Okay.
Yeah.
If one's fake, they're all fake. But they're all fake.
Well, yes. So, okay. Talk us through why this is actually fake. This is probably some of the most fascinating stuff I've personally looked into myself. And the proportions that they give us change.
Yeah. Like, look at the United States here, and then it's how small it is here. And just, you don't see vibrant colors through all of that atmosphere like that. I think when you get up really high, the entire Earth is white. I think if you get up high enough, because every balloon we set up, the Earth is white. Okay, the Earth becomes white. But they show us this. So this is let me show you. This is one. So here's a 2012. I think it's 2012 picture. Now they show us this. Okay, interesting. All right, but this is something we could actually measure. We can drive across here and go over to Baja, and we could say this is 934 miles. This is something that we can measure here. We don't have to speculate. We know that this segment is 934 miles, and I got it measured right here. I should be able to fit 8.5 of them in between 7,917 miles, which is the diameter of the Earth. I can only fit 3.5. Okay, something's wrong. Okay, you know, the globalists will say, well, they're taking a really close picture, and you know, you're not seeing the edges. Okay,
yeah,
it's desperation. It's so desperation. So let me try to find what I'm looking for here. I have this is,
and NASA have actually openly stated that the images that they're creating are done in Photoshop. Like, it's not even
right. Robert Simon, of NASA Visual Artist, said he made it in Photoshop. He was given pieces of data, and he used Command Z a lot. And he tried to make it what he thought people would like to see. Okay, what he thought people would like to see. Right? Just think about that. Think about that for a second. That makes absolutely no No sense whatever. Here's another thing. Here's the map that they show us. They say the continent sizes are all wrong. The dark areas are the actual size of continents. And when you compare these dark areas to a flat Earth map, they all match up. They all actually fit on the flat Earth map.
Wow.
At the actual sizes. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Have you got
So
the photos where NASA's actually changed the sizes of different countries, and you look at, for example, they'll show you Africa taking up almost the whole globe, and there's still so much Earth left to fit in there, and it just doesn't fit.
I am looking for that right now.
Okay.
Here's people say, well, what about the live streams from the ISS, right? And this is a snapshot from the live stream of the ISS. This entire thing that we're seeing right here with this big curve is literally inside of this circle. Okay. This is just a fisheye lens, a high altitude balloon or airplane. And they're bending it. And, maybe it's at 40,000 feet and it is dark up here, but this is just a fisheye lens. That whole thing is this, right? Where's the rest of the Earth? Right? That makes no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever.
Fascinating.
Oh, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. All right. So here's that 2012 picture, right? So I drew a circle here showing you what we're seeing on their landmass. You have to believe that all of this landmass is on the other side. Now, again, this is where your brain goes, I can't process that. You can't process it because it's unprocessable. Okay. But people, it's like, I can't imagine people are good people. Maria, you're a good person. We're all born good, pure people. And many of us try to stay that way. But when you're shown a lie this big, some people's egos, some people just can't handle it. They're like, my whole lie can't be alive. That because when you unwind the flat Earth deception, it's some, I don't want to say scary. It's some crazy deception. It is such a big deception. It's kind of upsetting. But once you get through that and realize your true power and that there's nothing to be afraid of and that we have God on our side and that, we're at the center of creation and that our thoughts create our reality. And just when you start understanding what this place really is, there is nothing to be afraid of, right? But this proves that it's absolutely a lie. Here's another one, right? They show us this one. Here's Africa, right? Right? Here's the river right here. There's the river, right? All of this is on the other side of that ball. Okay. Thank you for laughing because most people are like, I can't think about it. It's too hard. Okay.
It's ridiculous, really.
Right.
You just raised a really, really good point, Dave. And I think that this may be one of the reasons why people are so cranky about flat Earth. And I know this conversation is going to get backlash. And to that, I say, seriously, people, open your mind and just don't be afraid to have a conversation. You see, something that the globalists or the mainstream media will do is only talk to people that they agree with, and they won't explore anything outside of that. And they also, the majority of people are scared to have their belief system challenged. This is the point here. And you may not think you're scared because you don't feel the fear, but when you're confronted with something that crushes everything you thought you knew, you said a key word there, Dave, the ego. The ego and the realization that, oh my gosh, I may not know everything that I thought I knew. I may know this much about the world when I thought I knew this much. And that's terrifying. And I don't mean terrifying in the way that it's fear-inducing. It's terrifying in the fact that you have to face yourself, humble yourself, and say, I just may not know what I thought I knew. My position is always to divert back to God. Dave, I will believe what God tells me. Like, this is me. I'm a created being and I don't know everything and I never will, but I take joy in exploring. This is why I want to know what's in Antarctica. Why can't I go there? This is, I'm created with the ability to explore and the desire to explore. So I guess that curiosity is something that, people are missing. Even doctors these days, just believe the system. If I think that maybe something's wrong with the COVID injection, my entire world around me comes crashing down. Like, we have to really step out of that thinking.
Maria, this is one where I try to stay away from the biblical side. Not that I don't believe it, right? right? Because I was that guy that would be like, wow, you're great. This is amazing. Oh, you believe in the Bible? Oh, you believe in the Quran? Oh, you're religious? I'm out. Mark Sargent just did an interview on a UK big television station. And the guys are like, you're a lunatic because you believe there's a creator, right? But we don't need, like, science works for people that believe in God and for people that don't believe in God.
Yes.
God only works for people that believe in God. Here's the thing. My job, my God-given mission is to show people that we don't live on a spinning ball, that we live on a flat earth. And then that forces them to understand that there is a creator. And that's where I draw the line. Now that you know there's a creator, you go figure out your relationship with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Because anyone that tries to tell that says, you're going to do this or you're going to hell, it doesn't ever bring any, whether it's true or not, it doesn't bring anybody over.
Oh, absolutely.
It pushes them away.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree. Why do you think, though, that believing that the Earth is flat is what convinces people that there's a creator? I don't understand that.
Because flat isn't a shape. The flat Earth is intelligently designed. It didn't come from a big bang that a Jesuit priest made up. Okay, it doesn't dilute the creator. It says there's a creator. Okay, like if you lived in the jungle, you'd be like, all right, and then you come across a gigantic skyscraping building, and you're like, there was a builder. You can know that for a fact once you see the building. Once you see this creation, this building, if you will, then you have no option other than to understand that there's a creator and figuring out who the creator is. That's your own mission. My job is to get people to the point where they cannot deny the creator. The reason they hide flat Earth is because once you see flat Earth, then you have no choice. You are no longer allowed to deny the creator. If you believe in the heliocentric Big Bang, you could say, oh, it was a Big Bang, or God created the Big Bang, or God, or something else. You have a choice. But once I see
your point.
Once you see that this is intelligently designed, you no longer have the ability to deny the creator. Now, you may get it all wrong. That's your journey. Doesn't matter. Once you understand that we live in an intelligently designed place, that's it. Maria, the Stu Peters Network is out ahead of everybody else. You're questioning this. I did 2 interviews with Stu. I did 2 interviews with Stu. Ed, his co-host that fills in for him, and Dr. Kansas Taylor, they all had the courage to address this. Now, the backlash is unbelievable on some of them, but Stu couldn't care less, right? I don't think you can care less. Kansas, because she's a gubernatorial candidate, they're really coming after her, but it's backfiring. There's so many people that are watching this, and they're looking into it. And anybody that takes a little bit of time to look is starting to get it. On my app, this is called the Friend Finder. Look at this. These are people that have my app. Okay, is this crazy? These are people that know we don't live on a spinning space ball flying through a scientifically impossible space vacuum. We have people everywhere. Okay, look at Africa is filling up. South Africa, we got tons of people. We got Australia, and we even have a guy in Antarctica. Okay, there's a guy at Casey Station. Crazy, right? And this is really blowing up.
Probably a Fed.
Well, maybe. I was communicating with him, and then he went silent on me.
Really?
I was because you can tap on a dot, and then you could you can go to their profile and you can send them a message and all sorts of stuff. So
that's a cool function. What a nice community.
Yeah, it just brings people together. That's the whole idea of the app. And people do meetups and all sorts of stuff. You can send out a radius message. We sent out a radius message to 100 kilometers, and 75 people showed up for a meetup. And I've never met a blue dot I don't like. Okay.
Blue dot. Well, like I said, I got the app. I think it's great. I'm going to spend time going through it. You mentioned the backlash, Dave. Everyone looking at this globe back here, I've been, whatever you say, you're going to get backlash because no one's ever going to agree. And so this apparently makes me controlled op, where I didn't even put it there. Someone who just designed the back of this for me one day because I'm terrible at design.
They're the controlled op.
They bought it. They're like, that'll look nice.
They're the controller. That's your controller. Now, I'm going to get slack for wearing this Psalms 19:1. This is Psalms 19:1 that was on Wernher von Braun's gravestone. Wernher von Braun, the Nazi scientist that ran NASA, right? And Psalms 19:1 It says the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork, right?
Yeah.
Why is that on his gravestone? Okay. Right.
Yeah.
No matter what I do, I get flat backlash. When I talk about the possibility of lands beyond Antarctica or just some hidden lands here. Japan announced they found 7,000 islands last month. Did you hear about that?
No.
Google that. Yeah, Google that. Japan finds 7,000 unknown islands. So we don't even know what's here, right? The Southern Ocean, in my opinion, is bigger than all of the other oceans combined, unexplored. Okay. There could be hiding other continents within our pond.
Yes.
Okay. Completely sticking with your biblical understanding.
Well, again, I go back to what I said at the very start of this conversation. I don't believe what they tell me. Everything that they tell me is, and you're right, where it's an anti-God model. Transhumanism is anti-God. Making science your God is anti-God. Earth worship is anti-God. Everything they do is with the goal of disproving the creator. That's the globalist goal. That's what that everything is moving towards, that until a fake alien invasion and I don't know, voice to skull technology telling you that Antichrist is your savior. But apart from that, because there's people that don't believe that, and that's okay. One day you will. The key thing here is, Dave, I am open to understanding things that they haven't told me and that they never will. And so I'm really, really glad that we had this conversation today. I think it was really fun. I'd love to have you back on to talk more about Antarctica. I know this is a topic that a lot of people really want to talk about, more about the ice wall, more about what's been found there, what hasn't. So if you're open to it, we'll definitely do that in the future.
100%. I want to show you one more thing. It's very topical.
Sure.
So a couple of weeks ago, we had this whole submarine distraction, right? The whole,
yes.
What's it called? Subgate or whatever. Of course, It's a gate.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the submarine goes down. You got a billionaire. If you're a billionaire, you're going to go in a submarine where there's no window. There's just a TV screen. Why don't you just watch it on the screen on the ship and just send the sub down there without you? Absolute nonsense. Distracting story about all the other stuff that was going on, us giving billions of dollars to Ukraine and Hunter Biden, him getting away with stuff and deleting, 1.5 million emails from JP Morgan and Epstein and, everything. So out of the woodwork, I'm yelling at all of the engineers out there, the professional engineers. They all came out of the woodwork talking about the structural, the carbon, this, that, they're all analyzing the crap out of this. What happened? 50 years. Nobody is even willing to look at the structural integrity of the LEM on the moon. Okay. Have you ever taken a close look at the LEM? Right. Look at this thing. This thing is made from crepe paper, cardboard, curtain rods, scotch tape, tin foil. Okay. This is not structural engineer. Look, if your basement was sheetrock like this, you would ask for a full refund.
Yes.
Okay. People believe that this is holding in pressure in a vacuum of space. What happens when you put anything in a little vacuum chamber? It explodes. A soda can, Stretch Armstrong, right? Just Google things in a vacuum chamber, right? And when you take out the air, it explodes. This thing had men on it and a car and golf clubs. Okay. Right. Look at this thing.
And they made a phone call from it too.
They made a phone call. Right. They made a phone call from the moon. Right. Now, if you think about that, what do they tell us protects us from cosmic rays? What do they tell us protects us from cosmic rays? Right. They tell us that we have the radiation belts above us. You have all of these things that stop, we'd all be fried by all of these different crazy things, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So Nixon made a phone call to these guys on the moon from a landline. Okay.
Yes.
Right?
Amazing technology of the time.
And it's transmitting to the moon, right? Mm-hmm. No delay through the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, the ionosphere, the exosphere, and the magnetosphere. All of that, no problem. It stops all these radiation and gamma rays and X-rays, but a radio wave, no problem.
Yeah.
All right. You're not you. Anyone that believes in the moon landing, you are just gullible and lazy. Okay. Here's the thing. Maria, if I told you I lived in Connecticut, you'd be like, cool. Now, do you know that I live in Connecticut, or do you believe I live in Connecticut?
I've
Because
just believed
believing
you.
is easy. Yeah, it take and why not? We have this. We're looking at each other. We're reading micro face expressions. Like, why would he lie about that? And so we have to live our lives believing things.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem is people don't want to do the work. Like for you to do it, you might have to spend an hour, doing some research, going on Facebook, find my friends, you find my high school, then you like, oh, here's a picture of him yesterday, right? And you'll take the time, but people don't want to take the time, right? People want to be lazy. One of my other co-hosts, flat Earth guys, Jaron from the Jaronism channel, he always says, if you want to be rich, invent something that makes people lazier, right? So think about this: fast food. You don't have to shop. You don't have to cook. This is awesome, right? How do you make fast food lazier? DoorDash. You don't even have to get off your couch to get your fast food.
Yeah.
Okay, right? And look at DoorDash. It's what, $100 billion company now, whatever it is. Anything that makes people lazier. So flat Earth doesn't make you lazier. Flat Earth makes you actually use your God-given common senses.
Yeah.
Okay. Flat Earth makes you think and see and appreciate and realize and understand who you truly are and your true connection to the creator. Okay. And once you understand all of that, it all comes together. Here's one of my favorite playlists on the app. If you go to the frequently asked question page and you go to Why the Lie right here,
So
Why the Lie.
for people that want to find the app, it can be found through your website, flatearthpodcast.com. And it actually has a link.
No. FlatEarthDave.com. It's the Flat Earth Podcast, but everyone forgets the. So I just said FlatEarthDave.com. Same place. It's the same place.
I actually have the on the screen, but I misread it. So I do, but I misread it. And then you've actually got
FlatEarthDave.com.
Yes, because there is I understand there may be fakes and things like that on the the App Store. So
on Google Play, yeah.
On Google Play. So if you go through the website, it'll actually take you to the correct app.
Right, and if the name of the app is the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. You type in Flat Earth on the Apple Store, it comes up number one. It's by Blue Water Bay. As long as it says Blue Water Bay, that's the name of my company, Blue Water Bay, you're at the right place. In the Google Play Store, you have to look for it a little harder. But if you could just remember FlatEarthDave.com, the link is there. One other thing, in October 21st, 20th and 21st, that weekend, we're having a conference in Las Vegas called Flattoberfest. Okay. Anybody that can make it, there's going to be, I don't know, close to 1,000 of us there, and it's going to be amazing. It's an amazing weekend. Anybody that wants to go, you can find it at FlatEarthDave.com. Just click Flattoberfest, research it, check it out. It's an amazing, amazing event. Anybody that can make it to Vegas. So there you go.
I have one more question for you before you go, because you brought up the moon.
Yes.
Okay, so two lights in the sky that govern day and night. One of them is the sun, one of them is the moon. What is that moonlight comprised of?
I was just having a conversation with Jaron like 10 minutes before we got on this call. And we both have different, we both are thinking different things, but we both say we don't know. Okay. The moonlight, now, if you use the inverse square law of light, and I could be out in the middle of the night, middle of nowhere, full moon, clear sky, and I could read by the moonlight. It's bright enough to read by. It casts my shadow on the ground, okay? It casts my shadow on the ground. That's because the sunlight is bouncing off of a dusty, dirty ball, and then that dusty, dirty ball light is traveling all the way to me, so bright that it can cast my shadow on the ground, okay? It's 12 noon. These cement balls here, how come they're not lit up like the moon? How come they're not reflecting light back right to and I'm right next to this thing. Inverse square law says every time you double the distance to a light, it's a quarter of the brightness, or every time you half the distance to a light, it's 4 times brighter. So if the moon was only 1 lumen on a full moon night, I went halfway to the moon, it would be 4 lumens. If I cut that in half, it'd be 16. Cut that in half, it'd be 64. And by the time I was about 100 miles from the moon would be 60 times brighter than the sun for me to see it at 1 lumen from here. This is their science.
Yeah.
Okay. It's ridiculous. Here's something you can do. Go out. Well, we just had a full moon, so if the moon's still pretty bright in the sky, go out and there's some clouds in the sky, and look at the moon, and you'll see that the moon's only lighting up the clouds that are right near it, not the ones that are off to the sides. If the moon was 250,000 miles away, it would light them all up equally.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
only lighting the ones up that are right next to it. Okay. It only lights up the ones that are right next to it. Right. Like there's other clouds over here that are not lit, but only these are lit. Now, if you say, well, what are you saying, that the moon is right next to the clouds? Because I can go up in an airplane and prove that's not true. I believe, and I can show you how it works, that the moon and the sun and the stars that we see are relative to our position. When you're driving down the road and the moon's following you, it is following you, because we're seeing a projection of the moon into what I call our personal atmospheric dome of vision, or our azimuthal grid of vision. Okay. We can get deeper into that, but there's tons of stuff on the app. Next time I come on, there's tons of stuff on that. But it's like since I brought up, let me just don't leave people hanging. Okay.
All right.
So one more. Are you okay in time? We
yeah,
good?
we're good. We're good.
Okay. So this is what I call my sky sheet. So I rigged up in my room. I got a blue sheet hanging down. I got a light 10 feet on the other side of the light, and it's right there. And it kind of looks like a sun. Okay. It's pretty cool. It looks like a sun. It's just a flashlight with a square lens, actually, but it looks round. Okay. Right. And so Paige is off to the left of me. And I'd say, Paige, where do you see the moon? She was right there. Now, if I drew on the sheet there, put a little X with a Sharpie, she's seeing the moon over there while I'm seeing it right there. Okay. We're seeing it in two different positions. So as you move left, right, forward, backwards, or up and down, it moves with you. It moves with you. Yeah. And so when, it comes to a point, though, when we get up to about the highest we can get on a balloon is like 127,000 feet. Every time we send a balloon up here, the sun, it kind of almost looks like it's at the same height. Like whatever that is, it doesn't seem much higher than the balloon. And if you look, there's a local hotspot here. If that's 93 million miles away, how's it making a local hotspot? Like a local light?
Well, not just that. It would, like, if it was as far as they say it is, half the Earth at any given time would have sunlight. Like it just doesn't make sense that it would. Yeah.
So on my channel, which you can't see, I think it's cut off, DITRH. It stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. You can find it on my website, flatearthdave.com. I just uploaded a video on July 8th, which is yesterday, 2 days ago. 99% of the world's population was in some form of daylight at the same time. Now, not 90% of the globe, about 70 to 75% of the globe had sunlight at the same time. That's impossible. A sphere with a single source light can, no matter how you twist it or spin it, only 50%,
Correct.
exactly 50% of it can be lit.
Yes.
But more than like 70 to 75% of it was lit. And it happened to be the part where the land was, where the people were. 99% of the world at the same time is in the same population. I put a video on my channel. It's called Day and Night Prove Flat Earth. DITRH, for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole.
Well, Dave, I really enjoyed our conversation today. I think that it's a topic I want to know more about. I'm going to continue to do more research. And I encourage others to do the same because, I think your point about why this is so crucial to you and should be to others is valid. I think that untangling any lie is important. So again, you can find the Dave's app from his website. You can go to theflatearthpodcast.com or flatearthdave.com. And what are you showing us right now?
I'm showing right now on the Flat Earth app on the web button page. There's a button that says interviews. And if you scroll down, you'll find a ton of my interviews, but I'm trying to just scroll down to the one I did with Stu Peters, which was an excellent one. And we even have some after chat in it that he didn't air. That's pretty good, but you'll find it in that playlist. Oh, there it is right there. Stu Peters right there, right? There it is. And so I want to thank you and the Stu Peters Network and everyone here for having the courage to have this conversation. Believe nothing I say, verify everything. Okay. Verify it all. And then
that's something you'll never hear from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. And Neil deGrasse Tyson will not sit down with us. He will make video after video after video straw manning us and saying all stuff that we don't believe and making people think that we believe it and it sounds stupid. but he will not sit down with us. We have open calls out to him. We've done everything. We've even cornered him, and he runs away. He runs away. It's amazing.
Like Dr. Peter Hotez just runs away.
Right, exactly. He was supposed to be on the Joe Rogan show with Eric Dubay, and even after Joe announced it, he canceled. He said, "Nope." I'm sure he got the phone call. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, he would not. Joe Rogan set it up, and he ran away like a scared little child.
Well, the truth is not afraid to be challenged. I think I've asked you lots of questions today, Dave. You've given your answers. I think it's important to consider. We really appreciate your time. And honestly, I'd love to have you back to talk more about this, Antarctica, and let's see some of the questions that come back from the viewers. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Z Media is proud to partner with Aussie businesses that support freedom and believe in you and your family getting the best possible nutrition you can. Stockman Steaks is a third-generation family meat business supplying direct from freedom-loving Aussie farmers with pasture-raised, non-genetically modified, humanely raised local meat. Their meats are guaranteed mRNA-free. That's right, no mRNA in these grass-fed, antibiotic, hormone-free animals. By buying from Stockman Steaks, you'll be supporting Aussie farmers who share your values and are committed to giving you the best quality meat. Head to their store to see their delicious range of carefully selected meat boxes or create your own. Visit stockmansteaks.com.au/Maria. Support businesses that support us and give your family the nutrition they deserve.